The air over Themyscira shimmered like liquid gold. The island of the Amazons, untouched by mortal corruption and veiled from men for centuries, basked in eternal sunlight. But that peace trembled under an unseen weight, a storm that brewed not in the skies, but in the realm of Olympus itself. For centuries, Zeus had watched over both Hercules and Diana, the two most gifted of his divine offspring. Both embodied his might and his contradictions. Hercules, the relentless warrior of redemption, and Diana, the champion of truth and compassion. Yet as the balance of mortal belief waned and gods began to fade from memory, Olympus found itself fractured. A new war among the gods erupted, one not of mortals but of faith. Some deities believed salvation lay in conquest, others in coexistence. At the center of this divide stood Hera and Athena, each championing a different vision for the world. Hera saw humanity as ungrateful, a race unworthy of divine mercy, while Athena argued that their potential for wisdom was what made them sacred. To settle the divine impasse, Zeus made a decree that shocked both mortal and immortal realms alike, a trial of champions. Each faction would send forth their greatest demigod to determine the future of divine influence on Earth. Hera's choice was obvious. Hercules, her long-tormented stepson, now seeking redemption and the restoration of Olympus through strength. Athena, the goddess of wisdom and strategic warfare, chose her most perfect creation, Wonder Woman, the daughter of Zeus and the greatest warrior of Themyscira. The stage was set for a clash that would shake both heaven and earth. In Olympus, thunder growled as Zeus stood from his throne, his lightning-shaped scepter casting a radiant glow across the marble hall. Hercules, he said, voice deep as mountains breaking, the world has forgotten the old ways. Show them the glory of the gods once more. Hercules knelt, his lion skin cloak draped over his shoulders, the scars of his 12 labors etched across his god-forged physique. His voice was steady, powerful, and filled with restrained fury. If it is your will, Father, I shall remind them what divine power truly means. But Hera's gaze, sharp and venomous, pierced him. Do not mistake this for redemption, boy. This is judgment. Fail, and the gods will not save you again. Hercules rose, his jaw tightening. He had been betrayed by gods, tormented by madness, and burdened with penance for ages. Yet now destiny offered him a chance, not just to fight for Olympus, but to define it anew. Far across the shimmering seas, in the golden halls of Themyscira, the winds carried whispers of prophecy. Diana stood upon the marble balcony, her eyes tracing the horizon where sunlight kissed the ocean. Queen Hippolyta approached, her expression troubled. My daughter, she began, Athena has spoken. You have been chosen as her champion. Diana turned, her brow furrowed. Chosen, for what purpose? To fight for the fate of the world, Hippolyta said gravely. To face a god born of Zeus himself. Hercules, the name hit like a spear through Diana's heart. She had heard of the demigod of strength, the conqueror of monsters, and the man once consumed by divine madness. Yet the thought of raising her blade against another of Zeus's blood made her uneasy. Still, she stood firm. If this battle is meant to decide the heart of humanity, then I will fight for compassion and justice, not domination. Athena's owl descended from the heavens, its feathers glowing with ethereal light. From its talons, it dropped a scroll, etched in golden runes. The goddess's voice echoed in Diana's mind. The trial begins when moonlight touches the ruins of Delphi. Fight not for Olympus alone, but for truth itself. 3 days later, the ruins of Delphi were alive again. Columns once shattered by time reassembled themselves in divine glory. The air was electric, humming with godly power. The pantheon gathered, Zeus, Hera, Athena, Ares, Apollo, and even Hades, all watching from their celestial thrones. Hercules arrived first, his footsteps cracking stone beneath his sandals. His massive frame glowed faintly with divine energy. He carried his enchanted club and the Nemean lion's pelt over his shoulder, the symbol of his indomitable will. Then through a rift of golden light, Wonder Woman descended, armor gleaming, lasso coiled at her waist, sword and shield in hand. Her presence was both radiant and resolute, her gaze locked onto Hercules with the calm of a warrior born for purpose, not pride. Hercules broke the silence first. "So you're the chosen daughter. I've heard tales of your compassion and mercy. Tell me, do you truly believe those virtues can save a dying world?" Diana's tone was even, unwavering. "Strength without wisdom is destruction. Power without compassion is tyranny. I will not let Olympus repeat its mistakes." A spark ignited between them. More than rivalry, it was destiny's friction, the clash of ideals carved from the same divine flame. Ares, smirking from his seat, leaned forward. "Now this is war worth witnessing." Thunder roared as Zeus raised his arm. "Let the trial begin with the dawn. Only one shall stand as Olympus's true champion." As the gods vanished into light, the two demigods remained, watching the sunrise break across Delphi's sacred stones. Neither spoke, yet their silence was heavy with understanding. Both knew the cost of what was coming. Both knew that when the sun next fell, either Hercules or Wonder Woman would lie broken upon this soil. For now, only the wind dared whisper between them, carrying the words of an ancient prophecy long forgotten. When might and mercy meet beneath the broken sun, the fate of God shall be undone. And as the first rays of dawn kissed the battlefield, Hercules gripped his club tighter. Wonder Woman drew her sword, her bracelets glowing with divine light. The age of trials had begun. The dawn broke like a divine trumpet. Light flooded the ancient ruins of Delphi, glinting off marble and weapon alike. Mist curled around the fallen pillars, wrapping the battleground in a shroud of mysticism. The very air vibrated with energy. Olympian power condensed into this single sacred place. Hercules stood at one end, a living monument of raw power. Every muscle seemed carved from stone, his aura radiating heat like a forge. The Nemean lion's pelt hung over his shoulders, its golden fur glowing under the sun. In his right hand, he wielded his colossal club, crafted from the heartwood of Mount Olympus itself. His eyes, though calm, held a storm within. At the opposite end stood Wonder Woman, her armor reflecting the dawn like liquid gold. The Amazon's stance was poised and perfect, 1 foot steady, shield raised, sword gleaming. Her lasso of truth pulsed faintly at her side, each rhythm a heartbeat of justice. The wind carried her hair across her face as her gaze locked onto the son of Zeus. The silence was sacred, and then, like the crack of divine judgment, they moved. Hercules charged first, the earth trembling beneath his every step. His roar shattered the quiet, and his club swung in an arc that could break mountains. Wonder Woman blocked with her shield. The impact was cataclysmic. A shockwave erupted, shattering ancient columns and sending dust spiraling into the heavens. She slid back several feet, boots digging trenches into the marble. Hercules advanced relentlessly, each strike like thunder rolling down Olympus. Wonder Woman deflected, countered, and struck back with precision, a graceful dance against the fury of a storm. "Impressive," Hercules growled, swinging again. "You've inherited father's fire." And his flaws, she countered, deflecting the blow and slashing across his chest. Sparks flew as her blade struck divine skin, leaving only a shallow cut, but a cut nonetheless. The wound glowed faintly, and Hercules grinned. "You draw blood from a god. Few can boast that." Wonder Woman's eyes narrowed. "I'm not here to boast." She unleashed her lasso in a brilliant arc of golden light, wrapping it around his arm. Hercules pulled back, veins bulging, straining against the divine rope of truth. For a moment he faltered, truth flooding his mind, forcing his deepest guilt to surface. Visions of his past, his rage, his madness, the family he destroyed, flashed before him. "Face it, Hercules," Diana shouted. "Your strength cannot undo the pain you've caused." But Hercules, defying the gods themselves, bellowed with primal rage and tore the lasso apart. The heavens themselves gasped. Even Athena, watching from her throne of light, leaned forward in disbelief. Compassion makes you weak, Hercules roared, seizing a massive pillar and hurling it like a spear. Wonder Woman raised her shield, but the impact sent her hurtling across the ruins, crashing through a statue of Apollo. Dust swirled as she rose from the rubble, blood streaking her lip, but her eyes were unbroken. No, Hercules, compassion makes me stronger than you'll ever be. She launched forward, faster than lightning. Her sword met his club in a flash of pure white light, the collision splitting the ground beneath them. Shock waves rippled for miles, and in the heavens, Zeus watched as storms formed from their fury. For minutes they clashed, blows so fierce that mountains quaked, the sea itself recoiling. Hercules' strength was unending, but Diana's skill was art incarnate. Every parry, every strike was deliberate, divine precision guided by Athena's wisdom and her own unyielding heart. At last Hercules caught her off guard, smashing his club into her shield with such force that it cracked down the center. She stumbled back, gasping. Hercules loomed over her, eyes blazing with divine fire. "It ends now," he said, lifting his club high, but as the shadow of his weapon fell over her, Diana dropped her shattered shield and met his eyes. "You've spent eternity proving you're strong, Hercules, but you've never once proved you're right." She crossed her bracelets and summoned everything, every ounce of divine power, every spark of her will, and released it in a blinding explosion. Boom! The impact lit the sky. Hercules was hurled backward, crashing through stone and flame, his club shattering into fragments. The blast consumed the ruins, a storm of truth and thunder that even the gods shielded their eyes from. When the dust settled, Hercules lay in the crater, his chest heaving, his lion's pelt was scorched, his skin bloodied. Slowly, he tried to rise, but Wonder Woman stood over him, broken shield in one hand, sword in the other, her body battered but unyielding. "You fight with power," she said softly, "but I fight with purpose." Hercules looked up at her, and for the first time in eons, his pride broke. He let out a heavy breath, half a laugh, half a sigh. "Perhaps that is why Father chose you too." He fell back, the strength leaving his body. The gods above fell silent. Even Zeus's lightning dimmed. Athena descended from the heavens, her voice clear and resonant. "The trial is over. Wisdom and compassion have triumphed." Hera looked away, her bitterness swallowed by reluctant respect. Zeus rose from his throne of light, his voice thundering across creation. "So it is done. The balance remains. Humanity shall be guided, not ruled." Wonder Woman turned to the sky, the light of victory humble in her eyes. "Let Olympus remember, strength must always serve justice." As the divine audience faded, she looked back once more at Hercules, who now sat amid the ruins, nursing his wounds but wearing a faint, genuine smile. "Next time," he said, "I'll win through honor, not rage." Diana nodded. "Then we will both have won." The wind swept through Delphi, carrying away the last echoes of battle. The gods withdrew to their realms, and the sun once more bathed the earth in gold. But for that moment, brief and eternal, the legacy of Zeus's two greatest children stood side by side, united not by blood, but by understanding. And the ruins of Delphi, still smoldering from their clash, bore witness to the day when might and mercy met, and neither was the same again.